Good evening. Aston Villa is up for sale. The club's American owner, Randy Lerner, has said it's time for someone new to take Villa forward.
Well, our sports correspondent Steve Clamp is here now. Steve, this isn't a total shock, is it?
No, not at all, no. There's been little rumours and mutterings for a while that he wanted to sell up for some time. But today, though, we got the official word. He released a lengthy statement this morning. We've got a snippet from it here for you, which is probably enough to understand his thoughts at this stage. He says, above all, the debt I owe Aston Villa, whether as owner, chairman, custodian or simply as a fan, is to put the club first, to make good on that debt. I owe it to Villa to move on and look for fresh, invigorated leadership if I feel I can no longer do the job. Well, the man who sold Aston Villa to Randy Lerner is, of course, Doug Ellis. He gave ITV News Central an exclusive TV interview today and told me he expects the new buyer to also be from America.
Whoever comes in must put some money in for new players. They've got to be able to take losses as well as wins, and they've certainly got to come along to the matches. I will accompany them. I'll still go, but nevertheless I'll accompany whoever it happens to be. But no doubt, in my opinion, it will almost certainly be someone from the USA.
And it's worth bearing in mind Doug Ellis has remained in good contact with Randy Lerner throughout the years. So those were his thoughts. What does a new buyer actually get for their money, and how do fans feel about their club once again being up for grabs? Randy had to learn the hard way. Premier League football costs millions, hundreds of millions, with no guarantee of getting any of your money back. It's rumoured he wants around £200 million, so what does that actually buy? Well, there is, of course, Villa Park, one of the biggest stadiums in the country, with room for 42,000 paying customers. And then there's Bodymore Heath, the club's impressive training facility in Warwickshire. And what about the club's history? It was not only a founder member of the Football League, but also of the Premier League. And despite recent struggles, there is a trophy cabinet to be proud of, league titles, FA Cups, League Cups, and most famously, the European Cup. And then there's the squad. Value? Well, how long is a piece of string? But football experts suggest 68 million is a best guess. So what sort of buyer would be interested in this underachieving English football club?
They're not one of the glamorous clubs like London, Liverpool, Manchester, but undoubtedly, traditionally a club that's been there for a long time. They'll have to be very rich, probably a billionaire, to be able to afford the amount of costs. I mean, Randy Lerner has sunk something like £200 million into this club, and he's not got much to show for it, apart from a lot of losses.
So those who understand business have their view. What about those who actually pay their money week in, week out? The fans.
I would hope that certainly we'd see somebody on a far more regular basis than we've seen Randy for the last couple of years.
And would you want that new owner to continue backing Paul Lambert?
I think that's an interesting question. I think that if a new owner comes in, Lambert would almost inevitably go.
As for Lerner, most believe he really had the club's best interests at heart. But after a fallout with Martin O'Neill, managers came and went. And bit by bit, so did the club's league standing. Now, one of England's oldest clubs has an uncertain future.
Now, Steve, you spoke to Doug Ellis earlier, and he gave you an indication that the new buyer is likely to be from America. Did he give you any clue who it might be? No,
and as I said, that was just Doug's opinion, but it was interesting that he was quite firm on that opinion. So maybe he's heard something. We don't know who the new buyer is yet, but my feeling is this: Randy Lerner, whatever you think about what he's done with Aston Villa, he's a shrewd businessman. This guy's made a lot of money. He wouldn't just out the blue put a company up for sale with no idea who's interested in it. So no, I don't think it's a done deal. But I do think there's probably a clear idea in his mind of a couple of people who will be very interested in that football club. So I expect developments in the next few days.
OK, and we talk about a billionaire coming in possibly and buying the club, because they're going to need to be, aren't they, to invest in Aston Villa to bring it back to its former glory.
That's what Randy Lerner's learned. You know, £100 million to you and me, that's quite a lot of money. But in Premier League football terms, it doesn't actually get you a great deal. You need a billionaire. You need a lot of top players to get that club back in, well, even to the top 10, let alone the top 6.
Steve, thank you very much.
Well,